So I was watching this video by Tolly Eckert and Wayne Dyer, and they were talking about the importance of being extraordinary. I'm going to tell you something, my own view on this topic. In reality, we're not extraordinary. As human beings, we're not extraordinary. My coffee is making it, so obviously I'm not extraordinary, because extraordinary people don't need coffee. But the truth of the matter is that you're not extraordinary. You're just another grain of sand on the beach, as I've said millions of times. You know, everybody is equal. No matter who you are, no matter how famous you are or how poor you are, there's equality in reality. The only thing, though, is that our perception is different. We perceive some people as being greater than others. You know, it's kind of like something I used to talk about called the more dead principle. Now, you might be thinking, the what? The more dead principle. You know, that's my coffee maker being finished. How does the more dead principle work? Well, it has to do, there's a story I made up. There's two squirrels. There's one squirrel named Scruffy and one named Fluffy. You know, Scruffy is an old squirrel. He's been around for like 15 years or so. He lived way past the lifespan of a squirrel, but he still managed to get along somehow in this world, with arthritis and everything else. One day he climbs up on a branch of a tree and he just dies. Heart attack. You know. Now Fluffy, on the other hand, is a young squirrel. He's just like a year old or whatever. He's got like little pups, little squirrel pups, whatever you call little baby squirrels. He's got a wife. He's got friends. He's got everything. And he's, whereas Scruffy is kind of lonely. He doesn't have many friends. Most of his old friends died off and whatever. But one day, Fluffy is playing on a branch of a tree, and all of a sudden he slips off and falls into a wood chipper and vaporized. Now, which one is more dead, Fluffy or Scruffy? Well, they're both equally dead. There's no such thing as being more dead. But we tend to think that Fluffy's death had to be more tragic and more profound because he was young and he had so much life in front of him. So we feel it more profoundly. So we tend to think that something can be more of something when in fact it really isn't. It's just like if somebody asks you, which is heavier, 10 pounds of lead or 10 pounds of feathers? You know, if somebody said you have to answer in 2 seconds, you might say 10 pounds of lead, even though it's 10 pounds, so they're both the same. But there's a sort of almost automatic tendency to lean in a certain direction by putting immediate clues together. Lead equals heavy. Therefore, 10 pounds of lead is heavier than 10 pounds of feathers. When you actually have to think it, this kind of goes to what this guy talked about, in that book, Thinking Fast and Slow. When you have to think fast and think slow, you tend to get answers wrong that actually require a little bit more thinking. You have to kind of reflect a moment. No. So Fluffy and Scruffy are equally dead. In life, we're all equal in this world. But we tend to think that people who are celebrities, people who are scientists who won Nobel Prizes, and people who wrote novels and whatnot, they're more important, they're more special, they're extraordinary, whereas the rest of us are just, we're nothing. We're nothing. But, the way I look at it, in the eyes of God, we're all equal. Nobody's better than anybody else. Even if you don't believe in God, you don't, because I'm not into that whole stupid, really ridiculous, fruitless debate that everybody gets on. So I just mentioned God is more or less like you can, if you are an atheist, take it as meaning an abstract sort of observer. In the eyes of God, we're all equal. The abstract, detached observer. I'm not here to promote or demote God. God neither gets promoted nor demoted on my channel here. But from a God's eye perspective, we're all equal. But from a human perspective, we aren't equal. There's some people are more important than others. Some people are extraordinary. Some people, if you had to choose between whose life you're going to save, well, save all the scientists and the writers and this and the artists and whatever, and all the homeless people and the welfare recipients and to throw those people away. Get rid of them. If you had to send a rocket to Mars, you get all the people who could restart society, whereas the other ones, forget them. Yeah, we make value judgments in an operating room. Should we save this patient or that one? You know, there are two patients coming in. A young man who's been injured and an old man who's near the end of his. Who's we going to spend time on? We can only spend time on one, and if we focus on one, the other's going to die. Yeah, people make judgments. I was thinking about one time listening to this firefighter talking about once when he had to. There was a big fire here in Chicago, in a hotel, and like 20 people died. And it's like you had to make choices. Who are you going to save? The young 15-year-old girl who's about to jump, or the 90-year-old lady who's over there? Well, you make judgments. Who's more important? Yeah, and people will explain, and we all give explanations of why, because so-and-so has a longer life. But, in the eyes of God, everybody's equal. Again, the God's eye perspective. And that's something you always have to think about. It's just a thought.